Hi everyone, welcome back to another session of admin training series. So in this one, we are going to see what are Picklist and Multiselect Picklist in Salesforce. How do we create them? What are the features? And most importantly, why do you create it, right? So I'll move to the org and I'll start with Picklist. And then as I move along, I'll keep on explaining that what is the requirement and how do you actually create these in Salesforce. All right. So I'll move to my org. This is my Salesforce developer org where I have logged in, and I will go to a object. So if you want to navigate to your object manager, you need to click on this gear icon, and then you need to click on setup. Once you click on setup, you have to click on object manager, and then you can select whatever object you want to create your field on. Okay, for example, if I want to create a pick list on account object, then I will click on account. So before I actually go ahead and create a field, let me just explain you really quick that what how it is going to look like. So I'll move to an account record page. I'm going to open an account for you, and I'll explain you that what is the requirement, what do I want to create, and then we'll go ahead and create it. So this is my account record page. Now let's assume that I want to create another field, and that another field should look like a drop down with a lot of information. For example, let's say account rating. Okay, so I want to create a field of account rating, and when the user actually clicks on that field should show me multiple options. Okay, and from that multiple options, the user should be able to select only one field. That is called a multi-select. And if your requirement is such as that you want your user to be able to select more than one value from that drop down, then that would be a multi-select pick list. Okay, but for now, I'm going to create a pick list on account object, and I'm going to keep it here. Okay, and we'll see that if we are able to select one of the options from the drop down or not. So as I said, click on gear icon, move to object manager, go to your object. For in this case, I want to create the pick list on account object. So that is why I navigated on account object, and then click on fields and relationships. Once you are on fields and relationships, you need to click on new. So as per this requirement, I want to create a pick list. So that is why I'm going to select pick list and not multi-select pick list. Multi-select pick list will allow the user to select more than one values. But in this case, I want the user to have the ability to only select one value of that pick list. So I'll click on here, click on next. And here you need to give the label name of the field, right? Whatever label name you will give, once you keep the field on the layout, by that name, that field will be displayed. Okay, so label, I want to give it as account rating. Okay, now here if you see, there are two options. It is asking you to select one of these options. Use global picklist value set, and the other one is enter values with each value separated by a new line. So for now, so this one is actually, you will be using it once you already have a global picklist available in the system. So do not worry about this. I will be covering this in one of the other sessions. For now, we are manually going to enter the values. So I'll click on here. And once you click on here, it says that whatever values you're entering, you have to, if you want to enter multiple values, let's say one value, first value, second value, third value, then every value has to be entered in the new line. Okay, so as my field is about account rating, I'm going to enter some rating options over here. Okay, so for example, low, medium, high, or let's say extra high or something like this. Okay, so basically I am creating this pick list, this drop down, and I'm feeding 4 values in this drop down. Okay, now here there are multiple other options. So it asks display values alphabetically, not in the order entered. So if you want to display your value in the alphabetical order, then you can select this option. So whatever I have entered, right, it is going to sort this into the ascending order, in the alphabetical order, and then display it. And if you don't check this checkbox, then it is going to display the way I have entered here. Okay, the second one says use first value as the default value. So once you actually create your pick list, you can choose one value as the default value. When the user actually creates an account, or let's say navigates on this page, and you have not selected any value, but then you want one value to be always displayed on that particular field. Okay, that is nothing but a default value. So you can, it is asking you whether you want to convert the first value into the default value, so you can do that as well. Okay, I'm not doing any of these, but once we create this pick list, I'm going to select these options, and I'll show you that how this impacts the way pick list field and the values are displayed on the layout. Okay, this one is restrict picklist values to the defined values defined in the value set. That means that if anybody ever want to enter anything apart from these four values into this field, they will not be able to do so, even from the backend. Let's say even with backend, what I mean, let's say if somebody is trying to create an account record, not from the layout, but let's say if they are doing it with some data loader, or if they are trying to create an account with some kind of script or something somewhere, but not from the layout, and they are trying to insert a value into account rating apart from these four values, then they will not be able to do it if you have your pick list as restricted. I will show you this as well, how does it actually work, but for now let's just keep it restricted. Okay, here you can enter the description, and this field name is nothing but the API name. You don't need to append double underscore C here. Once you save the field, the double underscore C will get appended automatically. Okay, here you can enter the description of the field, so later on whenever you actually open the account object configuration and you navigate to this field, you will be able to understand that why you had created this field. And here you can provide a help text. Help text means the when you actually create this field, there will be an eye icon that will show up on the screen. For example, if I go to the layout, I don't have help text on any of these fields, but for example, if I, for example, account number, if I give a help text on this field, there will be a small information icon, eye icon, and once you hover your mouse to that eye icon, it will show you the help text, right? And that help text comes from here, whatever you have entered here. Okay, and then always require a value. So if you want to make this field required for the user, you can do it, and if you want to keep it optional, you don't have to check this checkbox. But if you have made it required, then user has to select this some value in this field, and then only they can actually save the account. Okay, and that's all. So let's just go ahead, and I am going to show each of these options one by one, so don't worry about it. This is for making this field visible to the profiles. For now, I'm making it visible to all the profiles along with the system admin profile that I am logged in with. Okay, and I want this field to be editable. That is why I'm not checking on read only checkbox. Let's say if, for example, for this profile, if I check it as read only, then any user with this profile, if they log in and if they try to edit this field, they will not be able to do it, because for this profile I have made this field read only. Okay, but I'm not making this field read only for any of the profiles. I'm making it editable for everyone. So next, and then it is asking me that these are the layouts you have available on account object, and do you want to add this field, the one that you're creating, on all the layouts? And the answer is yes, I want to add this field on all the layouts. But if you are working on a project, if as per your requirement, you have to be really careful that your requirement might not be to add a field on all the layouts, but then you might just need to add this field on only one of the layouts. So you need to be careful about doing this. Otherwise, if you don't keep in mind this, there might be objects there where there are, let's say, 5 or 10 page layouts, and once you are done creating this field, you would have to manually go to each and every page layout and remove this field wherever you don't want it and keep to the only layout where you want it, right? So it's better to select the layout where you want to keep it while just creating it. Okay, and then click on save. Now let's just go ahead and refresh this. So as I have upgraded my page to a dynamic form, if you guys have watched my previous session on dynamic form, you would know. But if you are have upgraded your lightning record page to a dynamic form, you would have to add the values explicitly, because it gives you a lot of other flexibilities account, along with other features that it has. So here I'm just going to add my field account rating. So account rating, okay, I'll just add it here, and let me save this. And let's go back to I'll just open it from here so that I have the page open if I want to add or remove anything. So I'll go to accounts and I will open any random account. So here it is, right? Account rating. Now, if I click on this, see, these are the 4 values that I had entered. Okay. So low, medium, high, and extra high. And if you see, you can only select one value, low, medium, or high, or extra high. If you want to select multiple values, you cannot do that because this is a pick list and it is not a multi-select pick list field. Okay. So you can add one value, any of these values. See how easy it is to create a pick list in Salesforce, right? Now let's just go ahead and check out other options that it had. Okay. So I'm going to account rating field and I will edit and add some configuration to this field. Okay, the options that we had seen and we did not apply. So for example, help text. Okay, this shows the account rating. I'm just adding any help text so that if, let's say, if like any user is trying to create an account and if they don't know what that field is about, you can add a help text. Okay, so save and let's just refresh this. Let me clear the cache. So here you can see this I icon, right? And see the text that it is showing is the one that I have entered in the help text. This shows the account rating. Okay. So this is what help text means. All right. And what was the other option? Let's just go ahead and try to make it required. So for now, if you see, this is optional. If I go to edit mode, this field is another field which is actually a required field. That is why it is coming as red. Okay. But if you see account rating is not highlighted as as red. So if I try to save this, it will allow me to save, right? Because this is not marked as required. But now let's say if I mark it as required. So I have made it as required now. And let's just save this. So if I click on edit, and let's say if I try to save this. See, it is showing me that this is a required field and you need to select a value before proceeding. Okay. So that is what being marking it required did. Okay. Now the next option was making it as restricted on or non-restricted. Okay. So here, if you see this field is already restricted, restrict picklist to the values defined in the value set. That means whatever values you have defined in the value set, only those options user will be able to select. So let it be restricted. I'm not going to unrestrict it and I will show you the benefit of making a field, picklist field restricted. Okay. I'm just going to click on cancel. So that means this field is still restricted because I did not change it. It is restricted. And let's go here. And for example, let me choose low here and let me save this record. Okay, now there are two things. So from the UI, user will anyway not be able to enter anything else apart from what is defined in this value set. Okay, user can only select low, medium, high, or extra high. But let's say if you are trying to insert an account or update an account by some other means, that means it might be data loader or it might be a script or anything, any other medium by which you are trying to create an account or update an account, and you are trying to enter a value which is apart from these 4 values which are available in the value set. Okay, so let me go to developer console and I will show you what happens if I try to enter a value which is not in the value set. So let me go to developer. If you are not aware about the developer console, don't worry about it. I'm going to make it much more easier for you. So in order to navigate to developer console, you just need to click on gear icon and here is an option of developer console. And what I just did, because I want to query this account and I want to change or update a value in the account rating, something apart from these values from the backend. And that is why I'm going to query this account in my developer console, because from developer console, I would be able to do that. So I'm copying this ID. This ID is nothing but the record ID. So whatever record you open in Salesforce, you can get the record ID from the URL. So this is my record ID. Let's say if I open some other account, okay? This was the first account, but let's say if I open this account. So what is the record ID for this account? This is the record ID for this account. So any record, let it be account, contact, opportunity, employee, any custom object or standard object, any kind of object, if you open any record, even if I go to contact and let's say I'm opening this contact, what is the record ID of this particular contact? This is the record ID, which record ID is nothing but it is like a unique identifier and Salesforce automatically generates it. Okay. So by using record ID, you will always be able to query the right record. Okay. So that is why I am copying the record ID of that particular account where I was on this one. Okay. So I'm copying the record ID and I will go to the developer console here. Okay. So in order to query that particular account, I can use the query editor. This is the query editor. Okay. And here I have to do select and ID. ID is nothing but the ID I just copied. The record ID. Okay. ID. And which other field do I want? I want account rating, right? So that I can change it. So how do you get the account rating? API name. Because in query, you would have to get the API name. This is my API name. Okay. I'm copying the API name, going back to the developer console. And ID account rating from which object? From account object. And this is the API name of the account object. It doesn't have double underscore C because this is a standard object. If I click, I went to object manager account, and if I click on details, I can see the API name of the object, which is nothing but account. You see, right? There is nothing such as double underscore C or anything as such. Okay. So here from account, and then I want to apply a condition, because if I just run this query, it is going to return me all the accounts that are there in the system, right? See, 45 accounts I have in the system, but I want to query that account where I want to make the changes. This one, right? So this ID. So here, where ID is equals to, and in single quotes, you need to paste the ID and click on execute. So here it is, right? It is giving me the same details. If you actually see here, the account rating is low, right? Now, what is the agenda? The agenda is to enter a value which is not in the value set. Let me enter XYZ or something like that. So I want to change this value, and I'm going to change this value XYZ something, right? And let me try to save this and let's see what happens. Bad value for restricted pick list. So you got the point, right? If you are trying to enter any extra value apart from the value set that you have provided, but if your picklist field is a restricted field, you will not be able to enter any value apart from the value set. This actually prevents your data to be not for user not to enter bad data, right? So this actually maintains the data sanity, so that nobody would be able to enter any some random or bogus value in the field that you have defined. Okay, so this makes sure that whatever value set you have defined, only values from that value set is entered while creating or updating the record. Okay, now what happens if I go and make that field unrestricted? So here, and let's just go to account rating field. So this was the field, and let me edit it. I'm going to unrestrict this. Okay, and save. Now what will happen if I try to save this? See, it got saved. And now if I go to the here, I go to the record and see what the value, the value that it shows. You'll get to know about the behavior, how it works. So see, it started showing you XYZ, but there is a catch here. Even though it started showing you XYZ, but if you actually click on here, right, it is not going to show you XYZ in the value set. So if I click here, see, XYZ has come, but what happens if I change it to something else? Let's say I change it to medium. And if I click on edit again, where is XYZ? It's gone, right? So what happened to the value? So if you're understanding, let's say if you entered a bogus value, okay, and you saved it, even though your pick list was unrestricted but your value was not in the value set, it allows you to enter that value in the record, but the moment you update the record, that value just goes off. So you will lose your data. Let's say if somebody has updated a lot of accounts, let's say 10 accounts, 50 accounts, or 50,000 accounts with wrong values, right? By wrong values, I mean with the values which are not defined in this data. So system will allow the user to enter that, but the moment someone updates those records with the right values from any of these, the moment they edit the record, right, they will not get to know what was the previous value, okay, that was actually entered. But if you actually go to the object, and if you go to the pick list, you will actually get to know what was the bogus value that was entered. So if I refresh here, so see, these are four active values, and whatever bogus value or extra value that user actually enters in the record, that comes under inactive values. Okay, this automatically happens. So let's say if I go here and change it to ABC, again, ABC is not in the list, right? And if I save this, what will happen? This record in on the UI, it will show ABC, but if I go to accounts, account rating field, where this ABC will be available, it will be available under inactive values. So let me go here and show you. So it will, ABC will come here and not here. Here it is, right? So what does it mean? And the UI will only show the values that are available in the active value set, okay? Not the ones which are in the inactive value set. So that is one point to be noted when you're working with pick list values, okay? If your pick list is restricted, then well and good, nobody will be able to enter anything apart from the value set. But let's say if your pick list is non-restricted, that means this restricted checkbox is not checked. That means user will be able to enter any values if they are not using the layout but other means for inserting or updating the records, okay? But in that case, what will happen? Those extra values or bogus values will come and sit under inactive values section. And there's one more thing. This is also, if I try to enter, what will happen if I try to enter another value as high with smaller case, right? Not basically like, not exactly the way it is provided here. Let's see what happens. So here, if I enter something like this, what will happen? This is the same value, but the way it is entered, right? In the configuration, I've entered the first H as capital, but this one is something else. What will happen? It allowed to enter, right? It saved it. But what do you think? Did it take the values from the active value set, or is it treating this one as extra value set and it is going and sitting under inactive? So let's go and check. This one is taken as this one, okay? So these are the smaller things that you need to keep in mind when you're working with Picklist. And there's one more point that I want to mention, that if you're working with Picklist, these are actually label names. If somebody asks you, right, that what is the API name of Picklist value medium, then do not get confused. Okay, like, how come a Picklist value is having a API name? It does have, okay? So this is the API name. And this is something which you can also change. For example, here, so if I want to change the API name, I can change it. And the label will still be low, but the API name would be low X, okay? Here in the UI, you will still be able to see the label name. Okay, so here, see, the label is coming as low, right? But let's say if you are writing a code or like, any other customization piece, if you're writing, and if you're trying to access the API name of the picklist value, then do not assume that like, whatever the name you have in the label, the same name will be available on the API name, because the API name could be different, okay? So this is something about another thing that is like, that you need to keep in mind when you're working with picklist values. So I think I think this is it for picklist values. And let me think if there's anything else that you should be knowing. So you know how to create a picklist value, you know how to provide values inside it, and you know that, like, what is the difference between a picklist field being restricted and non-restricted. If it is non-restricted, then other values can be entered from the backend, and if it is restricted, then no other values apart from the value set can be entered. Okay, and then you can make it required if you want, and or you can, like, keep it non-required. You can enter a help text, and if you want to keep a default value, you can also do that from here. For example, default. So if I want to keep the high as the so what is the default value for now? So if I it will not allow me to say, but the default value for now is nothing, right? I mean, if I create a new account, it is going to show me none because I have not set a default value. Let's say I set the high as the default value. So you can do it from here. Click on edit of the picklist value and then check on the default checkbox and save it. And if I go here, or if I go to some other account where this value is not selected, for example, these accounts, I did not even touch these accounts, right? Let me open a random account and see what does it show. So if I click on edit, it is going to show me, no, hold on. Okay, high is the default value. And all right, this might be happening because of the dynamic form that I have upgraded this lightning form to, but let me try to create a new one. That's okay. I think this is because of the upgradation that I told you, that I have um upgraded my lightning record page to a dynamic form. That might be the reason that it is not, like, clearing the cache actually and showing me the configuration, because it should show me the default value as high, but it is not for now for some reason. But I would suggest that you check it and you let me know in the comments that if it's working for you or not, and it should definitely work. Okay, so now let's just go ahead and see how to create a multi-select picklist value. So let's say if I want to create a multi-select picklist value where I want to give the user the liberty to choose more than one value, then how would I do that? So again, you need to go to the gear icon, click on setup. You can go to object manager, find your object, and then go to fields and relationships and click on new. And here you can select picklist multi-select, not this one this time. So picklist multi-select and click on next. Here, let me give something as account rating multi demo. Okay. And here I can enter the values as high, okay. And these are the same options that we talked about when we were creating the picklist values. So I don't think that we need to talk about it again. The same fundamental works for restricted picklist values. The only extra thing over here is the visible lines. So let's say if you have entered 25 values, 20 values, or 10 values into your multi-select. So it is asking you that by default, if the user clicks on, like, on that particular field, then how many fields do you want to show? So if you select 4 lines, then it is going to show you 4 values, and everything else will come, like, in the form of, like, there will be just like a scroll bar like this on the field. Okay, so I am not selecting, I mean, I'm keeping it default by 4. So this is okay, not keeping it required. And then let's just go ahead and click on next, making it visible and editable for all the profiles, keeping it on all the layouts, and clicking on save. And then as I have the dynamic form, I'm going to add this on the record page. So here I need to find the field. The field name is account rating multi-demo, right? So let the page load and then I'll add it. Let's just save this. Here I will just refresh this page. If you are getting confused that why I am trying to clear the cache and hard reload the page every time, it's because of the I am telling you because of the dynamic form. But if you are a beginner to Salesforce, do not worry about these things. All you can do is that you don't have to open this window and do a hard reload. You can simply refresh your page and you should be able to see the changes. Okay, so few changes, for example the default value and all of those things, whatever I could not see, you should definitely be able to see that. All right, so don't worry about that. So here is the field, okay? The multi-select field. If I click on this, see, this is how it shows up. Okay. Let me reload this. And let me see what happened to the values. They all are active. What happened to the values? So, you know what? I don't want to keep on struggling between the dynamic form. So I would rather go to opportunity object and I will create a multi-select pick list value for you. So here, so multi-select, and then I'll click on next. Here I'm going to keep it as rating, or I will just keep it as opportunity rating. Values. And then let's just save it. All right, so we'll go to an opportunity now. So here it is. This is the value. And you can see all these values, right? These are the 4 values that I added. Okay, so now you can select, of course you can select multiple values. If I want to select low, if I want to select extra high, then I can select and save this. Okay, so this is how a multi-select pick list works. And every other fundamental of being restricted, non-restricted, required, non-required, help text, description, everything works exactly the same way. The only and the main difference is that you can select multiple values in multi-select pick list. But if you have created a pick list field, then you can only select one value. Okay, so guys, this was all about a pick list value and a multi-select pick list, a pick list field and a multi-select pick list field in Salesforce. In the next upcoming sessions, we are going to see 2 more topics on the pick list. The first one is that I told you about the global value set, right? That when you actually try to create a pick list field, it asks you 2 options, right? The first option was if you want to enter the values manually, or if you want to use a global picklist value set. So we are going to talk about global picklist value set. Okay, I'll create a video on this one. And also there's something else called field dependencies. Okay, so I will be talking about that as well. For example, let's say if you have 2 picklist field. Okay, so let's say on the selection of one picklist field, you want to select the second picklist field. Okay, so in that, for example, let me just show you that. So let's say you have picklist field 1, picklist field, let me just name it something else. Let's say fruits. Okay, let's say this is a picklist field you have created, and you have apple, grapes, banana. Okay, and that's it. Okay, or let's say let me add mango. Okay, now let's say you have another pick list, fruit juice. Okay, so Now I want, so these are two picklist fields that I have, okay? But what I want, that if somebody selects apple in this particular picklist value, then I only want to display apple juice in this one, okay? So basically, when we will be creating this picklist field, it will have all these options: apple juice, grapes juice, okay, banana shake, and then mango juice or mango shake, whatever. Okay. So let's say these, when you'll be creating these two picklist field, what will you enter? In fruits, you will enter apple, grapes, banana, mango. And in fruit juice, you will enter all these values. But if the user is on the layout, okay, on the layout, then on the layout, if you are seeing those two picklist fields, okay, fruits and juices, okay. So if somebody selects apple, then in the second picklist field, you don't want to show all the options. Based on the selection of this one, you want to show the option in the second field, okay? If somebody has selected apple, then you only want to display apple juice. If somebody has selected mango, then you only want to display mango shake and not the other three values. So this is a very simple example of field dependencies. So that is also something that I'm going to cover, like, as in the next sessions. All right, so stay tuned, keep on practicing. I know these are very smaller stuff, but when you're actually working on any of the Salesforce projects, these are something that, for example, the restricted and unrestricted examples that I gave you, right? I have literally seen people, like, debugging the code, or like, trying to find the issue for hours and not understanding what the issue is exactly. So if you know these smaller details, it will always save your time. So stay tuned, keep on practicing, and I'll see you in the next session. Bye bye.